Greetings, survivor! Today we are covering the land claim block. While the land claim block, also known as the LCB, has existed in multiple versions of the game, and thus has been around for quite a while, it has had a major change in the latest alpha, being Alpha 16. It used to only be for multiplayer server use, where it offered a way to protect player regions against other players. Special thanks to TG Leviathan, my first sign up on Patreon, for helping me test some of these things out in a multiplayer settings, because it's really difficult to do that alone. Anyway, so if we look at Alpha 16, the land claim block has been extended to single player as well, where it's used not for base protection, which it is in multiplayer, but it's used as a convenient way to control access to items such as picking them up. It's also used to control access for all the electrical items in a multiplayer setting, preventing a hostile player from simply accessing a turret and emptying it of ammunition to render it useless. So that's something that's really nice in Alpha 16. But let's start with the single player bit. In single player, effectively the land claim block is only for picking up your placed items because there is no other players. So you'll be able to pick up workbenches or various electrical items like your turrets. If you remember early on in Alpha 15, you could wrench your items, you could wrench your forge and your workbench in order to pick them up. That's no longer a thing. If you wrench it now, you get back the materials, but you don't get back the workbench or your forge. So you have to use the land claim block. So how do you do this? Well, for one, we need to start placing it down. So how do you place it down? Well, you keep it in your hand and you look around. If it's white, that shows the area that it covers. But how do you see if it's not covering? So let me just drop some things here just to prevent placement. And you see if I try to place it here, it gives me a red outline. And that means it cannot be placed. And you'll also see this if it's within the area of another land claim block, such as from another player. Of course, that doesn't exist in single player. Or if it's too close to a trader, for instance. So if we place it down here, you'll see how big it actually covers. And we'll get to the sizing in a little bit. And you'll hear that nice sound that establishes your claim. Anyway, so how do you pick up things? Well, you basically, instead of just pressing E, you access the radial menu by holding E. And you see here on the workbench, you can open it, which is the usual interface. And I'm holding E here, or you can take it. And you see there's a countdown. So you take the hand item and you pick it up. And after it's counted down to 0, it will appear in your inventory. So that's really, really convenient. Make sure you have space in your inventory so you don't accidentally drop it. And if you check in the bottom right, you'll see I actually picked up my workbench. So let me place it down again. So, and one thing to note though is that if you pick up a forge, for instance, and it's got iron or clay or stone or something melted down, it will vanish. Any items in output slot, etc., general will appear in your inventory or drop on the ground, but anything that's been smelted down will be vanishing and it will not remain. So when you place it down again, it's going to be empty. So make sure you empty it first before you pick up forges and things. It's not as much of an issue on workbenches. You know, if there's output, generally you'll end up with them anyway, but especially for forges, it's a problem. If you pick up a turret with ammo, let me see if I have any ammo there. I don't. Let me get in some ammo and I'll show. So let's get some shotgun shells here. And let's pick it up. So it'll be pretty fast and you'll see that I gain the ammo. So that's pretty convenient. And the same thing here. Let me put in the ammo and take it. And it should show up in my inventory as well. So that's pretty convenient. But forges, things that are smelted down, I guess because it's handled differently, it will be lost. One thing that can happen with land claim block is that the pickup ability stops working due to the save bugging out. And you saw I got the shells here as well. So sometimes it happens that you won't be you access it, but you won't be able to pick it up. I mean, you continually hold E and there's nothing. It basically goes into the open item like the workbench directly. And that's because the land claim block stops working. And that's a bit of a painful thing. What you basically have to do here is that you then start chopping down your land claim block, destroying your claim, and then you have to replace it. So it does work. It's a little bit clunky. I mean, if you've got an auger, it's faster, obviously. But it is a sort of a temporary workaround to do that. I've had that happen in my solo player worlds over and over again. So, you make sure you place the land claim block somewhere that you can access it easily, because once in a while it just borks out and, you have to break it down and replace it, and then you'll be able to pick things up again. So as you saw, the land claim block has 8k durability. So that's quite a lot. You craft it, and as you do that here in the workbench, land claim block, and you craft it with 100 forged iron, and it takes a while to do. And once you have your mine going, getting 100 forged iron is not so bad. So that's pretty convenient, because then you can just place it in all your bases, or if you've got a really big base, you can help to cover all of it. And as you saw, placing it is pretty straightforward as well. What you also can do, and I do that once in a while as well, is that you can actually paint your land claim block. So if you do hide it in your ground, or you just don't want to have it looking like a land claim block in your base because you put it as part of your flooring or something, you can just paint it. And also makes it harder for other players to find it. So that can be kind of a nice thing as well. Just make it blend in with other steel, because it will show up as obviously steel compared to when sound-wise when someone bashes it. So that's pretty convenient. So to recap, in single player, you use the land claim block to create a base where you can pick up all these items, fences, turrets, etc. It's convenient when you're expanding or when you're just remodeling, because you don't have to destroy or break them down. You can just pick them up and replace them somewhere else. So that's really neat. Now let's go look at the multiplayer a bit. What the? Gaia, open the door.
I will not. You are not invited to my base.
Your base? It's mine. You're just my computer. Cut it out. Open the door
How
now.
rude. I am not letting you in. Go away, or I send out my troops.
Wait, what? The troops? Holy smokes. Not the zombie soldiers again. Come on, open up my base. It looks like Gaia here has decided to take over my base and put down a land claim of her own in my base, changing the locks. So, that's a lesson for you. Make sure you land claim your own base, as someone else could be doing that for you, and that's really annoying. So that brings us to the multiplayer bit, where of course you want to be the one with the land claim, not the one trying to get inside. The size is the same, and the default size for the land claim block is 41 by 41. This means that it's 20 in each direction plus the middle block. So 41 by 41. It's a column that goes from bedrock all the way down and all the way up to the sky limit. So it has an unlimited range. It's only horizontally that it really matters. If it shows green, you place it. If it's red or you get an error sound when you try to place it down, it means it's within another protected area, which could be another player's land claim block, or it could be a trader land claim block. So then just try somewhere else. So what does it really do in multiplayer games? Well, every block that is within this 41 by 41 claim area has a durability multiplier set on it. The actual value of this multiplier is in the server config.xml, and by default it's 32. If you happen to place multiple LCBs within the same area, the durability multiplier still remains the same. However, of course, it means that if someone destroys one of them, other blocks might still be covered by the second or the third land claim block. So having some overlap is nice. But if you are putting them at a distance from each other, make sure it's not more than 40 blocks, because then obviously you're going to have a gap in between. So that's something to watch for, because then you have a gap where someone could potentially be destroying blocks and entering your base. When it comes to land claim blocks, there's also a dead zone involved. And the dead zone is for other players placing land claim blocks around yours. This means that at default 30, as you can see, land claim blocks have to be at least 30 blocks apart. Unless, of course, you're a friend with the player. That's slightly different. This makes sure that other players will not just be fencing you in by placing directly outside of yours. So at least it helps a little bit. Of course, the downside is that they can just walk around with their land claim block and see when they cannot place it down, and they'll have a pretty good idea of where your land claim blocks are. But that's hard to prevent. Either way, even if they couldn't do that, they could just walk around and start beating their ground. And as soon as they hear the claim sound and they see that the durability is not going down as expected, they know they're within a land claim area. Each land claim also has an expiry timer. This is tied to the number of days the player is offline. And this is useful for controlling how long players can be inactive on a server before their bases lose protection. Simply logging in will reset the timer. The land claim decay mode controls how this time decay works, whether it's linear, exponential, or has full protection up until time expiry. So this is important to know because obviously if there's a protection of 16 over 16 days, on the last few days the protection is a lot less compared to whether it's a full protection up until it expires. As covered, there's also durability modifiers, and these are split into the offline and online play. And this is, again, the effective protection each block has when the player who put the land claim block is on or offline. It's pretty common for the offline modifier to be higher than online, such that online raiding is encouraged and offline raiding is not. And it also helps to prevent griefing when players are offline. But this is really up to the server admins to control. In effect, at 32, it takes 32 times longer to destroy a block. If this is a steel block, you can quickly imagine how much effort it is to destroy even a single block. However, unless it's set to infinite, which is 0, a raiding player can and will eventually be able to get through the blocks if they're willing to spend what could potentially be hours of methodically breaking blocks. And some people actually will do that when they're raiding bases. Another thing to note is that beyond the durability protection, other players cannot place blocks or items within the claimed zone. So you cannot walk into someone's base, pillar up and over a wall, for instance, to get in. And you can't place TNT to blow things up. Of course, you could fire a rocket, you can hack with your axe, with your pick, or you could throw TNT, but you cannot place anything down. If you add a player as your friend or ally in the allied list, they get full use access to the claim area. So be careful about who you give access to. Now, it's important to note that this is use access. Only the player who owns the land claim has full rights. What this means in practical terms is that allies can access all your turrets. They can access your motion sensor, your workbenches. They can break and put down blocks as if they own them. However, they cannot pick items up. Only the owner can do that, so there is a difference. Also, while allies can break blocks as per normal within the claim, the land claim blocks themselves is an exception. It is protected even from allies. This means that your friends who you put on your friend list, which is the one that you add here under the allies, they can't just go around and easily destroy your land claim blocks in order to grief you. So that's useful to know. As the owner of the block, you yourself, however, can break it down as per normal. So it doesn't prevent you from destroying it quicker, but will prevent your friends to destroy it. Of course, if it prevents your friends, it will prevent your enemies as well. So let's say you have a land claim block. But if you leave your doors open, if you leave your drawbridge open, or you don't have any proper wall set up, of course, enemies can just walk straight in. So make sure you have it locked down. You should make sure that your chests are locked down and keep your doors and drawbridges locked and closed as well. So one thing that players have been known to do in PvP servers is to walk close to someone's land claim, dig down and wait for wandering hordes or blood moon hordes to arrive. Because zombies don't get affected by the land claim, they basically can bash down your walls just like they normally can. There's no durability modifier for zombies. And once the zombies have bashed down your doors or your walls, players basically waltz in. And that's very difficult to prevent, except with maybe using turrets, making sure you have traps around, such that even if zombies show up, that they will not be able to easily break down your base. A couple of things to note is that doors and hatches function on a separate system, where it's the player placing them down who is the owner, so it has nothing to do with the land claim owner. So even if you have a land claim, an ally who puts down a vault door will, for instance, be the only one who can control access to that door, even if it's within your land claim. Of course, you can break it down if you want to, but it means that they could lock it, and the only way for you to get out is to destroy it. So it's a little bit weird, but I think it's because they're using two different control systems which are not synced up properly. Something else to keep in mind is that land claim blocks do not prevent zombie spawns, despite popular rumors now and then to that effect. You can test this out pretty easily, and that's what I did, by just placing down a bunch of land claim blocks and have a streamer come in, just spawn it if you're in creative, and you should see a lot of zombies just popping up out of the ground, even around the land claim. So that's pretty important to know, because you hear this rumor sometimes. So people try to put land claim blocks inside buildings such as PUIs and think that they are now zombie proof from at least spawns, but that's not the case. So with that, I think you should have all you need to know about land claim blocks. But if I miss something out, or if you have any questions, do drop me a note in the comment section below. And for crying out loud, subscribe for more content. Now I need to slowly beat my way into my own base and try to dismantle Gaia. Wish me luck.